What's up, Garage Goons? It's the most trash show on YouTube. And today we have Richie Vaillancourt, my wrestling coach, and former state, qualifier, right?
State qualifier.
Nationally ranked in high school, all around stud. So let's talk about how you got into wrestling, what age and what made you want to do it.
So I started at 5, but I come from a bit of a wrestling family.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad met through wrestling.
Did your mom actually wrestle?
No, my mom was a stat girl.
Oh, okay.
She took stats. My dad, his freshman year of high school, dislocated his shoulder in a match, and his bag got left behind. And my mom, being the nice lady that she is, picked up the bag and returned it to him the next day at school after he got back from the hospital and everything. And that's how they met. And then one of my older brothers wrestled, and my mom would take me to watch him practice. He's 4 or 5 years old. And one day after practice, we were getting in the car going home. I was like, Mom, I want to wrestle. She said, okay. The next day I had a pair of wrestling shoes and some headgear and was practicing. It's at 5 years old.
Were you being sent to the Thunderdome by your brother regularly? Was that part of the motivator, or he kind of left you alone? And
so me and my brother, we always got along. Okay. But we never really fought, but we roughhouse, and he was bigger and older than me. He's 6 years older than me, something like that, 6, 7 years older. So he would pick me up and throw me into the couch and everything, or pick me up, throw me on the bed.
Yeah.
But I was always thought it was fucking blast. I was a little kid.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounds like you had a nicer experience than my younger brother.
Yeah. And my sister is the mean one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My brother, like half of my brother's best man wedding speech was how all of the character he has today was tortured into him by me. So, okay, that's cool. So you start at 5. What is that like? Because it's not like in elementary school, there's like school wrestling, like in high school or whatever. So take me through that.
So youth wrestling, there's tournaments specifically for youth kids. They have different age groups and everything. Generally they don't overlap with the high school season, which is like October to end of February, beginning of March.
Okay.
So they run from April to September.
And is it like through a local club type thing, or?
There's literally tournaments hosted every weekend all during that time period, all across the state.
Okay.
Through USA Wrestling.
Oh, okay.
There's a whole national governing body for.
So is it? I'm totally ignorant. Is it kind of like Pop Warner for like youth football kind of thing?
So like Pop Warner, they have like individual leagues for the area. That's not a thing. In wrestling. So in youth wrestling, it's like you have local tournaments, and then each state will hold their like own youth tournaments or own youth state tournaments.
Okay.
And then there's like national youth tournaments as well. Right. And so growing up, I started at 5. I didn't lose a match until like my 4th tournament.
Oh, wow.
So mind you, I was 5 years old, like 35 pounds, 40 pounds, wrestling the same 2 kids over and over again. But I was beating the shit out of those kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just kept wrestling. And I think the first time I went to a national level tournament, I was in 4th grade.
Okay.
And it was last second. My coach was like, hey, you know what? Let's go. And I was totally expected to go 0-2. I think I went 4-2 or 5-2 and was a match away from placing.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
So was that the first time you got humbled, or was it like really close matches?
Every match
smacked you.
Every match was close.
Okay.
But it was the first time that I had went to like a tournament and didn't just like walk through it.
Okay. Didn't like dominate.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in youth wrestling, you do your first tournament and you bubble essentially. So when did the next tournament you did end up in you winning or placing or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't think until I got to college I lost more than 12 matches in a season.
Wow.
I would consistently go like 40-8, 38-8 in like 10.
So like around 50 matches a season
Yeah.
was pretty typical.
Yeah. And I would wrestle. There would be some so the way in youth wrestling, you register at the tournament. You can it's changed since then. But back in the day, you could register for freestyle, folk style, and Greco.
Okay.
So the three different styles. Then you could register for your age group and one age group above.
Okay, so
and back then you can't do it anymore. You could register for a weight class up. So my mom, we'd go travel 2.5 hours. My mom's like, "You're doing everything."
Oh, and so you register for all three?
I registered for all three weight classes, age group up, weight class up. So I would wrestle some tournaments if they had enough people. I'd wrestle 12, 13, 14 matches in a day.
Wow. And so when you registered for all three, was there a specific style that you gravitated towards, or you would say you were better at than another, or you?
So my coach was heavy on folk style.
Okay.
Which is the American style, collegiate style.
Okay.
But we would do a decent amount of freestyle, and I never really got into Greco. I would essentially just double leg people up at the waist for Greco.
Okay.
Once I got into like 6th or 7th grade, I was like, I'm done wrestling Greco. It's not for me.
Yeah, that's all upper body, basically.
It's all upper body. You can't touch the legs. You can't trip or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
So I was, like 5th, 6th, 7th grade. I was like, yeah, I'm done doing Greco. I'll just do folk style and freestyle.
So is there a huge difference between folk style and freestyle?
Folk style is more involved on the ground. By that, I mean in freestyle, you get taken down, and the goal on bottom in freestyle is to lay flat and wait 10 seconds without getting turned, and the rest brings you back to your feet. Folk style, you get taken down, you are in charge of getting back to your feet. If you don't attempt to get back to your feet, you get hit for stalling.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it adds a whole nother dimension to wrestling, which I prefer.
Yeah. Okay. And that's the type that they run in folk style is high school.
High school and college. America is essentially the only country that does that.
Okay.
There's a couple like American colonies that have small pockets of wrestling that do it, but essentially America's only
and everyone else does freestyle.
Everyone else does freestyle.
Okay. Interesting. All right, so fast forward a couple of years from 4th grade, obviously, and you get into high school. Did you because you wrestled in like later on in college at like 130s?
125.
Okay. What did you start out at in high school?
So in high school, my freshman year, I wrestled at 103 pounds, but I walked around at 120.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's a big cut. 17 pounds?
Yeah. I walked around at 120. For most of my freshman year, I wrestled at 112 pounds.
And that's probably before they did all like the regulation of like how you could cut weight and shit like that.
No, but they had hydration testing back then too.
How'd you pass that cutting 17 pounds?
I cheated.
Oh, cool.
So there's a couple of different ways you can work that. One, you have to be down at the weight.
Okay.
So I dropped down a month before season for our hydration test to 103 pounds.
Okay.
And this one other way that helps is to help your body fat percentage is say you can't make it right then to 100 to whatever the weight class is, say you're a couple pounds over, but they do take your body fat percentage. So to have a higher body fat percentage, you say you're shorter than you are.
Interesting. So they literally go off BMI.
Yes. They don't actually do college. They do skin fold tests.
Okay.
In high school, they don't. And then you have to, so the actual hydration test itself, it measures it. So in high school, they have this thing where it sticks in and measures how much water is in your piss.
Okay.
Right. So you have to figure out a way to get water in your piss if you're not actually pissing hydrated. So one way I would do it, I'm short, right?
Right.
Urinals normally have the little fucking thing you can like right on top. It's kind of flat.
Yeah.
So you put your cup on there as you're pulling down your pants. Well, I'm short, so it's right below mouth level for me. So I'd walk in with water in my mouth. So as I'm bringing it down, spit some water in, piss in the cup. That way the water's warm, same temperature as the piss. Walk it, finish pissing.
You're
walk
a
it over.
Dirty, rotten little bastard.
Walk it over to the guy.
Did you invent this stuff, or like somebody else told you, okay, look, this is how you do it?
No. So I had people tell me, they're like, hey, are you gonna pass hydration? I was like, I will not pass hydration.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, you need to find a way to get water in your piss. Then some guys would have the fake bladders and do that.
And all that, yeah.
Other guys would make sure they're the first person in there, and they would scoop water from the urinal. The issue with that is it's cold.
Yeah,
so
you can tell.
Well, they'd still piss in it.
Yeah,
but then they'd be standing there holding the cup with their hands, trying to warm up the cup. So when they hand it to him, he feels a warm cup.
Interesting. So okay.
So that was how I always did it. I did that in high school and college.
Worked every time?
Worked every time, never got caught. I had never passed a hydration test legit. Never done it.
Right, write it down, kids. You want to cut it close, put some water in your mouth, and spit it in the cups.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And then so did you notice as you gained weight over the years and grew naturally from
I grew all of an inch in high school.
Okay.
From the beginning of freshman year, I was 5'2". At the end, I was 5'3".
Sure, but I'm sure along the way you had a little bit of a man spurt where you maybe got a little broader.
Yeah, a little
muscles got a little bit bigger.
A little bit.
Yeah. So did you notice from your, what was it? You said 103?
Yeah, that was
going up to whatever you finished at senior year.
Senior year, I finished at 120.
Okay. Did you know, is that 2 weight classes up or 1?
2. It goes from 103 to 113 to 120.
Okay. And did you notice between, as you gradually moved up, like a significant difference in the way wrestling was, or like the type of techniques and things like that?
So generally you'd be right in that, but the lighter weight classes, I would say from 120 in high school, 120 down, all wrestle the exact same.
Oh, because they're just so fast. And
it's all speed. But the coach I had from the time I was 5 until the time I graduated in high school was a heavyweight.
Okay.
He was a heavyweight. So my style was I wrestled like a heavyweight, and I had to teach myself through matches
to be fast,
how to deal with like fast guys.
I'm sure too there was some like hybrid, like you incorporated faster, more athletic techniques, and then also you had like your, I'm assuming, strength-based techniques as well.
My entire, especially growing up through high school, was I wanted to slow everything down. I wanted to get my hands on you, just beat the shit out of you, maul someone.
Make it ugly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't want to deal with someone out in space trying to snatch my ankles.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a hold of them and slow everything down, which lightweights hate. They despise it. They don't want to be touched. They want to go fast, in, out, get their takedowns, move on.
Yeah, they don't want to grind through it. They want to like enter in clean.
Yeah.
And execute whatever they're trying to go for right away, or give up on it right away.
Exactly.
Got it.
So a lot of guys hated wrestling me.
I'm sure that's like that was in some ways a distinct advantage for you, because that, if I'm reading between the lines, like encourages chain wrestling. Whereas like if they shoot and fail, whatever, it's like, okay, reset, I'm fast enough to like get something off again. Whereas like you, It's like, okay, well, I didn't get what I was going for, but I got this. And now
Yes.
let me go for that. Or
That is
whatever.
exactly what down the line happened with my style.
Okay.
Which you've seen how I coach.
Yeah. He just to give you guys more reference, I said at the beginning of the video, but he coaches at Ramiro Fight Academy, our gym, and he's also coached and helped corner Danny for his my striking coach for his 2 MMA fights or 3 MMA fights? 2. Okay. And so now that we've established that, so in high school you have a more power style for those lower weight classes, and then you eventually start getting scouted, right?
Yeah.
And then what?
So in high school, I started getting letters and emails from coaches after, partway through my junior year.
Okay.
My junior year, I went to state, but I was also coming off of shoulder surgery. So I didn't actually wrestle that many matches.
Okay.
Going into the postseason, but I wrestled a couple tournaments where I beat very highly ranked people.
Okay.
And so actually going into the postseason, I was 10-0. Normally I'd have about 30 matches by that point. So I was 10-0, but I wrestled in a few tournaments and beat kids that were ranked top 10 in the state.
Okay, so quality wins, but just way less of them
Yes.
because you were dealing with injuries.
Yes. So I started getting letters and stuff my junior year, but I was a fucking idiot in high school. I didn't have grades. Which in my senior year, I was actually ranked as high as 5th in the state and 30th in the nation.
And then what does 5th in the state in California mean? Does that mean like basically close to top 10 in the country, or are there other states that are way more powerhouse?
So California is consistently in the top 5 strength-wise for wrestling.
Okay.
All right. So I was ranked 5th in the state. I was ranked 30th in the nation at that point.
Okay.
Right. But I didn't have grades. I ended up not making grades for the postseason my senior year.
Nice.
Yeah. I was an idiot.
So academic probation, they didn't let you do state tournament, or
I didn't get to do any of it. So it goes league finals, CIF, master state. I didn't get a wrestling league. So I didn't finish my senior year, my senior season. And yeah, it was entirely my fault. I was a fucking idiot.
Right.
Chasing girls and doing other shit. But
yeah. Did you catch any of them?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good for you. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess trying to catch those squirrely little fast guys helps when you try to chase the girls. So I'm assuming they're not as fast. Okay, so and then that transgresses into all the colleges that were looking at you because you're not getting good grades, kind of lost interest.
They're all dropped. So at the time, Moore Park didn't have a wrestling team.
Oh, really? I thought they had one forever.
So they had one years ago.
And this is Moore Park College.
Moore Park College.
So we're being which is a junior college.
Yeah, they didn't have a wrestling team at the time. They had one. It got canceled in like 2007, something like that, maybe 2008, which is dumb because they had just won the state championship the year before.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the whole Title IX thing.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a wrestling team at the time. And I was coming off of having offers from D1, D2, D3 schools. So in my head, wrestling in junior college, I was just like, I'm better than this. Why would I go travel to Fresno or San Luis Obispo and go wrestle junior college?
Right.
So I ended up working for 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you took a 4-year hiatus?
I coached for 3 of those years, but I didn't compete, didn't work my own technique or anything.
Tell me about how you originally got into coaching that young. Like, were you recruited by your high school coach?
So right out of high school, I actually moved to Santa Barbara.
Oh,
okay. I lived on my own, moved to Santa Barbara. A bunch of shit happened, ended up moving back home. My high school coach.
I have the same story.
My high school coach, so the head coach that was there when I was there left. He moved to Texas.
Oh, okay.
His assistant, who was an assistant while I was there, took over the program.
Okay.
He found out I moved back to town, called me up. He's like, "Hey, I could use some help if you're willing to help me." I was like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
I was 19. It's 19. It's in the summer, so I go over there, and I've been coaching with him ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And he's actually part of the reason I found out Moore Park was starting up the team when they were.
Oh,
because
okay.
He's friends with with Kistler, who runs the college program.
Okay.
And he was out drinking with him one day, and like, "Hey, I'm pushing for the college to start their team back up, and it sounds like I'm going to be the head coach."
Mm-hmm.
Well, he knew I could still. Roy, he's the coach at Moore Park High School. He knew I could still compete.
Okay.
So he texted me and was like, "Hey, keep your eye out for news about Moore Park College starting the wrestling team."
Yeah.
So like, okay. And they eventually they did. They started their program up, and I was working in insurance at the time.
Okay.
I was like 170, 175 pounds.
Oh, blew up.
Oh yeah, I was sitting in an office all day, fucking eating snacks out. All right, and so I was like, I want to wrestle. This job sucks.
Yeah.
I quit my job in May so I could go work out and be less fat so I can not die when they started their summer practices in June.
Oh, okay, smart.
So
a little bit of preparation.
Yeah.
How many pounds did you lose prior to the season starting? Like, were you real close to where you wanted to be?
So our hydration for the college was 2 weeks before our first competition. So the college season starts a little before high school season.
Mm-hmm.
So our first competition was towards the end of August, I want to say. So from May to August, I lost 50 pounds.
Damn.
I was running, but from May to June, I had lost 15 or so. So when I went into our first practice with the coach, practice in the summer, my coach, he's like, "What weight class?" He knew me because he was from the area. He coached at Newberry Park. He's wrestled for Iowa back in the 80s, All-American.
Yes.
Wrestled for the world team. And he's like, "What weight class are you thinking?" And I was like, well, I was like, "What?" He's like, "What weight class?" He's like, "Are you doing 140? I was like, "No." 133? No. 125? I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, we're taking it serious then."
Oh, okay.
He's like, "We're taking it serious." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, and at the time I was like 160 pounds. He's like, "How much do you weigh right now?" I was like, "Don't worry about it, coach. I'll make it." And so he's like, "All right." He's like, "I've never seen you miss weight before, so I'll trust you."
Yeah.
And so the entire summer I would run. So I would run probably 10 miles a day.
Wow.
Jump rope for about an hour a day. Do like 300 push-ups every day, and then have practice in the.
Were you doing anything eating wise different, or like did you go on a special diet, or you were just literally killing the cardio just the whole time?
So I eat a lot.
Yeah.
So I just cut down on everything. And one way I did that is I would serve myself what I would normally serve and then put half back.
Oh, okay.
And then eventually when you're cutting that much, a lot of it's diet, but once I was down to like 135 pounds or so, that's when it's the actual cut.
Okay.
Of when, okay, now I'm not eating a whole bunch at all. And the last 5 or 6 pounds is water.
Okay. And so at this point, you're definitely still relying on the spit in the mouth technique, or the water in the mouth technique.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's actually kind of funny. So before we had our hydration test, we had like 3 weeks off from the end of the summer program and the beginning of season.
Okay.
And so the end of the summer program, I think I was like between 140 and 145 pounds.
Okay.
Right. Because I didn't
That's
want
within striking distance.
I didn't want to drop too much too fast.
Right.
And so I come back and it's hydration. And we have trainers, the college has trainers running hydration. Well, I come in for hydration. It's the first time they see me in 3.5 weeks or so. And I'm at 125 pounds. And I went from having long hair to shave my head.
Yeah.
Because I always shave my head for the season because I didn't want to deal with the hair. And so I walk in and they're like, "Who are you? We've never seen you before." I was like, "It's Richie." And they're like, "Wait, Richie who?" I'm like, "Vaillancourt." And they're like, "No." I was like, "Yeah. They
really
me.
Didn't believe you? They wanted to see ID?
They didn't believe it until my coach was like, "What's up, Richie?" And they're like, "What?" They didn't, because I dropped another 20 pounds or so and shaved my head. They're like, "Who is this kid?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were actually like confused on who I was because I looked so different. And yeah, past hydration. And then a week later, 2 weeks later, we had our first competition, which was the worst day of wrestling of my life.
Why is that?
So like
somebody checked your oil.
No, I went 1-4.
Oh.
Like I said, I had never in a season before never lost more than 12 matches.
Yeah.
So I had quarter of them or third of them, whatever it is, in one day.
Quarter of the amount you lose all season.
Yeah, in one day. And
do you attribute that to just the drastic weight cut and all that, or
no? I think a big part of it was two things. One, I hadn't competed in 4 years.
Okay.
And two, so I going on the team, running these summer practices and everything leading up to the first tournament, I knew I was the best kid on the team.
Okay.
Right. So I was trying to help the other lightweights try to catch up a little bit. So I would take reps that I would normally do, like, hey, work your shit.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a big part. I go 1-4, like have a full blown before my last match, have like a full blown like breakdown because I'd never lost 4 matches in a row in my life. Just didn't know how to handle it. And I end up winning that match. And the next week, I go into our Monday practice, and I go and get all my teammates, my drill partners, and be like, "Hey guys, I'm apologizing in advance, but I'm gonna beat the shit out of all of you this week."
Yeah,
it's like I can't lose 4 matches in a day.
Yeah, you can't. At some point, like in all combat sports, I feel like you have to be selfish because you have everyone has holes or parts of their game that are not as strong as other parts. And if you don't like sharpen those things, you can fall victim to your own, not like lack of hard work, but just I guess, yeah, like you were being too nice. You were giving other guys reps. You were helping them drill on what they need to work on.
Yeah. And I told them, I was like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of all of you guys. Yeah. And they all kind of laughed because I'd been nice to everyone.
Right.
And they all kind of just laughed and was like, no, like I'm serious. And then so our practices were 3 to 4 hours long.
Okay.
After the first hour, no one wanted to practice with me.
Wow. So then what? Did you move up like weight with the heavier weights or what?
No, I just forced them to wrestle with me and kept beating the shit out of them.
Nice.
And then our next tournament, I pinned and or teched, which is mercy ruled.
Okay.
3 of the 4 kids that I had lost to.
Wow.
The 4th kid moved up in weight.
Oh, wow.
And after the end of that tournament, my coach comes up to me. He's like, you just like dog walked 3 of those kids that you'd lost to. I was like, oh, yeah.
I would have said what happened last time.
I pulled out a piece of paper and I was like, this is my hit list, coach.
Yeah.
Handed it to him, had their names written down and crossed off.
Nice.
He's like, I love this. Gave it back to me.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, so that was your freshman year of JUCO?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so that was your second tournament freshman year, dog walk all 4 guys. And I'm assuming the rest of the season, for the most part, goes that way until What would it be? State or
State.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird how in JUCO, California is separate from the rest of the country. The rest of the country partakes in nationals.
In California, it's just California.
California is just California. But
That's so weird.
if you place top 6 in California, you're considered an All-American.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if it's because California just has more
population or something.
More community colleges with wrestling than the rest of the country states do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the reason. I'm sure it has something to do with the population of California. But I qualified for state, and at the time, you remember the fires that were kind of right on the hills in Simi?
Well, fuck, that's almost every year.
Well,
but yeah,
this is 2017.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 2017. So there's fires on the hills opposite of the freeway. So freeway's on this side, hills over here.
Okay.
Right. Well, my house is kind of close. If the fires came over the hill and started going to the neighborhoods, they would have worked their way down to us, and so we were on evacuation notice.
Okay.
The week of state.
Okay.
And so I didn't know if I was going to go to state until like an hour before we left, when my mom called me up and she's like, "Hey, just go and wrestle. If we evacuate, I'll fly you to wherever we're at."
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Mind you, I'd been running in the smoke and everything, preparing, but I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. Ain't nobody.
And then
what does she say in that? The emphysema or no, the bronchitis? Ain't nobody got time for that. So you're running in the smoke. Okay.
Yeah, not sure if I'm going or not until basically we leave.
Okay.
But by that point, we get there and I had psyched myself out. I just wasn't in the right mental space to go and compete. So I went 1-2 at state my freshman year. A kid I had teched took 4th. A kid I had teched 2 or 3 weeks before took 4th in state.
When you say you weren't mentally like, what does that even mean? Like, I mean, I know.
So
you weren't. What fell apart for you?
So we get there, first match I win, but the entire time I was thinking about, because I didn't.
Your house burning down and shit?
Yes, because I don't look at my phone while I'm wrestling. Like, we get to a tournament, the second we get to a tournament, phone comes out of pocket, goes in my bag, I don't look at it.
Yeah.
So the entire time I'm like, what is happening at home? What's going on until I'm done wrestling. And so I go in, I wrestle the first match, much closer match than it should have been.
Okay.
Because I'm just not focused.
So you couldn't lock in.
Yeah, I couldn't.
It was like your mind was, you were almost maybe trying to get it over with because you were anxious to see what was going on.
I couldn't tell you the exact thing, but my head wasn't where it needed to be to go and do what I should have done.
Yeah.
I believe had I wrestled how I should have, I probably would have been wrestling 3rd place.
Okay.
Wrestling for 3rd place. I don't think I would have made the finals. I would have had to upset someone that I hadn't beaten that year, which I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just, based on the matches, I don't think it would have happened.
Yeah.
And, I'm realistic in everything.
Your assessment, yeah.
I think I probably should have been wrestling for that 3rd place match if I had wrestled how I could have, but it didn't happen.
Yeah. Okay. So the fires happen and you don't do great in that tournament. So so the following season, at one point, are you, I guess, because I know we haven't talked about it yet, but you mentioned injuries earlier, and that's when you had major problems with your shoulder, right?
Both of them. So that entire season started off like shit. A month before our first competition, I break a bone in my foot and a rib in the same day. I have wrestled on a broken foot before.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, we're in practice. I was like, I can keep wrestling. Broken foot, I can do it. No problem. Well, I get in a situation where I'm trying to throw a teammate going backwards. Well, I realize I can't. I get him up in the air and I realize I can't drive off of my foot.
Oh, wow.
So I'm already going, but I can't drive how I can to get him all the way over top. So I ended up dropping him shoulder right on top of my rib, break my rib.
Okay.
And kept trying to wrestle for another 30 minutes or so. Couldn't breathe. This point, my foot between the breathing and my foot, I was like, all right, I'm done. Go to the trainer. They're like, what happened? I was like, well, I broke my foot, broke my rib. They're like, well, we're not sure about that. Send me to go get x-rays, broken foot, broken rib.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I actually come back and make it in time for our first competition.
Okay.
Slight, my foot still hurts, rib still hurts. I lied to them. They're like, you have any pain? Nah, I feel good. You jump up and down? Yeah. Jump up and down.
Yeah.
Take a deep
Try
breath.
not to wince.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so I wrestled in our first competition. First match, first shot, I take a shot, sweeping single. Dislocate my shoulder.
Fuck.
First shot of the tournament. Finish the match, end up winning the match. Much closer than it should have been. Should have worked the kid. And get off the mat. My coach is like, what's up? I was like, I popped my shoulder out in the match. It ended up being the only takedown the kid got because I shot and I was like, oh, let me pull my shoulder back in place. And he's like, okay. He's like, you're done. You're done for the day. Work with the trainers and everything for a month or so. Get back on the mat. Start doing well again. Start winning matches.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have an off week where we don't have competition. So we're just doing during the week kind of like flow practices.
Mm-hmm.
And working with one of my teammates. We're working kind of scrambles and whatnot.
Yeah.
And getting a bit of a scramble with my arm between his legs. And he, much harder than I expected, whips his leg back. So my arm comes back this way, pops my shoulder out, my right shoulder out. I dislocated my left one early in the year.
Yeah.
And my right shoulder is the one I had surgery on before.
Oh, man.
So it was actually the stronger of the two to begin with. Rips it out. And then I end up working with the trainers for a little while, and they're like, we need to bring in the doctor and have it looked at.
Were you walking around like doing the running like this for a while?
Kind of like there's like at one point in the season where I would take any sort of impact on either shoulder and then just fall out.
Was there a point where you had a hard time wiping your ass?
No, but I couldn't roll over. I couldn't roll over onto my sides, so I would.
So you slept like Dracula?
I legit slept like Dracula.
Okay.
And I would put pillows underneath my sides so I wouldn't roll.
Okay. Yeah, that's tough.
But I see the trainer or the doctor.
Yeah.
Because they have an on-staff surgeon who comes in once a week and everything, checks kids out. And I see him and he's like moving my arm around, asking if everything hurts. If anything, he's like, no, it feels fine. It feels fine. Lying through my teeth.
Right.
And he's like, look. He's like, you need an MRI. If you have an MRI, you're done. He's like, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
He's like, or we can just pretend you never saw me and you try to wrestle. I was like, see ya. Never saw you.
Yeah.
Smart. And so that is probably 3 weeks before our regionals, which is qualify for state.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point I was like, you know what? I'm practicing. Everything hurts.
Mm-hmm.
In the week before or the week of regionals, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. My shoulders come out during this week, during the tournament. I don't care. I want to finish.
Yeah.
At this point, a lot of schools that were interested in me wrestling for them had dropped me because of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
There were still a couple schools that were like, hey, finish out the season, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
We'll bring you on.
Yeah.
But that wasn't even in the thought processes. I just wanted to finish the season on the mat.
Yeah.
Since my senior year of high school, I didn't finish.
Okay.
So my goal was to finish at that point. And so I go to regionals. I actually make it deep enough into to the tournament to where I'm just wrestling for placements.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had qualified for state.
Mhm.
And this was the worst cut I've ever done in my life. Because one, it was right after Thanksgiving, and two, going into Thanksgiving, our last practice before I dislocated both my shoulders, felt
Mhm.
sorry for myself, so I was like, "Fuck it, I'm eating and drinking whatever I want."
Yeah.
And so I ended up having to drop 25 pounds in 6 days.
That's a lot.
Yeah, make it there. It's actually kind of funny. So we left the day before,
Mm-hmm.
so we can get a workout at the where we're staying. One of my coaches comes up to me, and like, "Hey Richie, how do you feel?" We leave on a Friday, wrestle on a Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "How do you feel?" I was like, I actually feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm like 2 or 3 pounds over at this point. I was like, I feel pretty good actually, surprisingly. He's like, okay, well you look like shit. I was like, thanks, coach. Real encouraging.
Yeah.
And so then workout next morning, he comes up to me. He's like, how do you feel? I was like, I feel like shit.
Yeah.
He's like, I hit you today.
Yeah.
I was like, well, ended up not like weighing. I couldn't eat or drink anything for like 2 hours because anytime I tried to eat or drink, I felt like I was gonna puke.
I hate cutting, dude.
Yeah.
It's nobody likes cutting, but I literally won't compete at a weight class I should probably be competing at just because I don't want to do the cut for 170.
Oh, I feel that.
So
yeah, and so like I didn't warm up at all. I literally just laid there feeling like I was dying, trying to like sip water without throwing up. Wrestle, like I said, made it deep enough in the tournament. Get in this match, just a placement match. Take a shot in the first period. Kid down blocks with his head, doesn't move his feet. Run my face straight into his knee. Don't remember the rest of the match. Ended up losing a match because of a dumb decision because I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
Should have won the match. Get taken to trainers, told I have concussion. Done. Won't be able to make it. Won't be able to wrestle in state.
Damn.
And by that point, like I was like, all right, well, at least I ended on the mat. Even though I had more matches ahead of me.
Yeah.
At least I finished on the mat.
Yeah. That's good. And I'm assuming, after that is when you kind of more committed to the coaching side of things.
Yeah. There was a couple schools. Point. There was a couple schools that were like, hey, we'll hold a preferred walk-on spot for you.
Okay.
But these were schools out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
Yeah, bumfuck state. And
I was like, this one school in
Egypt Tech.
This one school in North Dakota really wanted me, and I was like, guys, I'm from Southern California. If I go to a winter in North Dakota, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be 125 pounds in the winter in North Dakota. I will physically die.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not doing it.
That's totally reasonable and understandable. There's definitely certain places of the country I just have zero interest in ever seeing for any reason. So the Dakotas and Montana and all that shit up there is that's all no-go zone for me. But if okay, well, so and then you committed to coaching full-time. If someone was watching this and wondering if they should get into wrestling, what would you tell them advice-wise, like succinct advice, and then also like what does it do for you? Like what does it do? Is it a spiritual thing? Is it a emotional thing? Is it like therapeutic for you?
So one, you're not going to meet nicer people than you are wrestling or fighting. Everyone's just great for the most part.
Yeah.
But it's almost, you hear this a lot with like former pro athletes. They're like, I became institutionalized to the process of whatever the sport is.
Yeah. Addicted to the competition
right.
and stuff like that.
It's kind of similar in that like when I have the free time of no wrestling, no coaching of any kind, I just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, and then I'm like, I need to do something. Yeah. So plus it like I'm sure there's days at work you get stressed out, go to train, maybe beat someone up a little harder than you should, and you feel good. And you feel good.
I always feel good in the moment, but immediately guilty and bad right after.
It's the same thing with wrestling. Is maybe have a stressful day, get on the mat, work around, and whatnot, and get some of that stress and energy out, and you feel good.
Yeah, and also too, it's like you beat somebody else up, so you don't beat up your wife.
Oh yeah,
or your girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You understand.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I totally agree, and I feel like because a lot of people in fighting and combat sports, maybe not so much wrestling, because there's a lot of good kids that come from wrestling families, and I feel like even though you have to be an absolute maniac and monster to be a good wrestler because of like the nature of the competition and all that, you probably don't have to be as much of like a chemically imbalanced lunatic as actually fighting people.
Yeah.
Because that inherently comes with like, you know, legal repercussions and potential. So, but I can definitely agree with that. Those communities are like the best people that you're going to meet, because if you do that, you have no time to be, well, most people have no time to be a piece of shit.
Oh yeah. Know? And you're so fucking tired.
Yeah. You're too
tired.
Too tired. Too beat up. You don't actually want to do any of this stuff right now with somebody that's like, you know, drunk at a party or at a bar or anything like that and wants to start shit. You're like, I've been doing this all week and this is not the time. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's pretty much all I got. Is there anything else you want to leave the people with?
I don't think so.
All right.
It was fun talking to you.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. All right, damn. We went over 45 minutes. Still the most trash show on YouTube. That's been Richie Vaillancourt. And go wrestle, kids. Get into a wrestling. All right. See ya. And we are done.